Why? If tobacco is so harmful, is it not banned? Since nicotine is a drug and causes diseases like cancer and various tumors, why can it still be freely found in any store, for example, on any shelf?
As a psychologist and psychotherapist, I conduct hundreds of sessions with children on the topic of addictions every year, and the most common question I am asked goes like this.
Why is tobacco not banned if it is so harmful?
We have all heard about the problem of smoking, strokes, heart attacks, cancer mortality. But we see that year after year, the situation does not change drastically. Why?
Well, because it is very profitable and because it involves big money.
Well, because it is profitable.
To whom? The state. What do you think? Why is the sale of these products not banned?
Well, probably it is profitable.
The state receives taxes from it, excise duties, and taxes come from a pack of cigarettes.
With the question of whether cigarette sales are profitable for the state, we went to the Higher School of Economics.
We know the amount of revenue from excise duties and VAT that we receive from the sale of tobacco products. This is on average about 700 billion rubles per year. This amount certainly seems significant. It accounts for about 1.5% of the revenues of the consolidated budget of Russia, or 3% of the revenues of the federal budget. However, this amount does not cover the costs of treating diseases of the smokers themselves, which today the Ministry of Health estimates at about 1.1 trillion rubles. And again, this is just one part of the expenses, what we directly spend on treating diseases caused by smoking.
But if the costs of treating smokers exceed the revenues from excise duties, why does the Ministry of Finance only talk about profits for the state?
What the Ministry of Finance sees, for example, is that they receive these 700 billion in the treasury. Therefore, they consider it income. What is then indirectly spent on health, on deaths, and so on, is, for them, a question written with a pitchfork on water. One department accounts for revenues, shows them perfectly, while no one accounts for the expenses you are talking about. Who in the government is currently able to calculate and account for what you said the state spends? I don't even know such a structure.
We asked the same question at the Central Research Institute of the Ministry of Health of the Russian Federation.
The sale of cigarettes, which is completely unprofitable for the state, causes it colossal damage. Tobacco companies try to make it seem that tobacco, in general, is beneficial for the state. They have even come to the point of saying that it is almost very profitable for people to die early. Indeed, there was a scandal in 2002 in the Czech Republic when the tobacco company Philip Morris released a report on economic impact of smoking on the economy of the Czech Republic, and it was clearly stated that, in fact, life expectancy is decreasing and less pension needs to be paid. There was a colossal scandal about the fact that this is a completely fascist statement. But what do you think? Not long ago, expert letters about the same thing came to the Ministry of Finance of Russia, stating that smoking is very profitable and that pensions will need to be paid less since people die young.
Tobacco companies, with their cannibalistic logic, try to present the very existence of pensioners as an extra burden on the budget, and cigarettes as some kind of magic wand that alleviates this burden. This logic is not only immoral, but also incorrect from an economic standpoint. Firstly, many pensioners take care of their grandchildren, which helps parents avoid quitting their jobs. Secondly, pensioners generally spend their pensions on goods and services within Russia, thereby contributing to its economy. According to calculations by the Central Scientific Research Institute of the Ministry of Health of Russia, the indirect economic losses from tobacco consumption, excluding the cost of medical care for smokers, amount to 5,600 billion rubles per year. This is 8 times more than all state revenues from tobacco sales. Who makes money on smoking in Russia? So, the average cost of a pack of rubles. The cost price is about 13 rubles. The size of the promotion is 67, vate, rubles. It turns out to be a profit from 1 pack of rubles. This is a 350% profit, not a bad return. Moreover, the profitability from electronic cigarettes is even higher. The annual turnover of tobacco product sales in Russia amounts to 1,600 billion rubles. Cigarette production in Russia belongs to foreign companies and is divided among Japan, the USA, and the United Kingdom. For example, the Japanese company Japan Tobacco produces such cigarettes in our country as Russian-style Peter, I, Don Tobacco, and Troika. Revenue in Russia in 2021 amounted to 312 billion rubles. The main shareholder and owner is the government of Japan. In the ranking of the 50 largest foreign companies by revenue in Russia for 2021, the tobacco giant Philip Morris took first place. But isn't the sale of a product that kills or disables its buyer a violation of the law? With this question, we approach the president of the All-Russian Public Organization League of Patient Defenders.
It is related to the 7th article of the Law on Consumer Rights Protection, which clearly states that a product harmful to public health must be excluded from circulation.
The consumer has the right to ensure that a product is safe for their life and health, under normal conditions of use. If it is established that a product causes or may cause harm to life or health when the consumer follows the established usage rules, the manufacturer is obliged to immediately suspend its production and sale until the causes of harm are eliminated. If the causes of harm cannot be eliminated, the manufacturer is obliged to withdraw such a product from production.
We are talking about manufacturers. They pay something, but they should bear criminal responsibility for the production and sale of a product that kills, which is freely available.
What tobacco companies are doing is a criminal offense. Article 238 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation. The production, storage, or transportation for the purpose of sale, or the sale of goods and products, the performance of work, or the provision of services that do not meet safety requirements for the life or health of consumers.
We should, to be honest, have good protection against their aggression, because behind this lies, in general, a thirst for profit. Well, imagine you have a product that creates addiction in everyone. Wow, cool. It doesn't matter that they will die later.
It is also necessary to mention the fires caused by smoking. According to the Ministry of Emergency Situations, 41% of all people burned alive are victims of careless handling of cigarettes.
He simply was in the kitchen, lit a cigarette, didn't extinguish it, and dozed off. As a result of smoldering, the table caught fire first, then the armchair, leading to heavy smoke. His mother, unable to walk at the age of 87, could not leave the apartment on her own. As a result, 2 people died. According to statistics, in 2021, there were 3,500 fires in Moscow. Of these, 1,600 fires were caused by smoking.
According to statistics, 549 fires occur daily in our country, resulting in 42 deaths. Almost half of these are attributed to smoking. According to the Ministry of Health, Russia loses 400,000 people annually due to smoking-related diseases. This is the population of an entire city, such as Tver or Surgut.
When these packs with pictures started appearing, I always looked at that picture and thought, this is a crow. And that thing grew in someone's throat. I never really thought that something like this could actually be locked, sealed, or even secured in such a manner. And then, when was the last such day for us? At 32 years old, it was a surprise for me. I started smoking at 14. At first, I smoked regular cigarettes until about 28, 29 years old. Then I started smoking IQOs. I read on the internet that IQOs is less harmful than regular cigarettes. At 32 years old, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. They performed surgery. In December 2021, I think, on Kartan, and they called for a vote. I even work in the Ministry of Emergency Situations. There are many people who smoke there. I will start by saying that Gurinia kills, and Gurinia kills. It really does kill. That's the thing.
The mortality factor of smoking is hardly noticed by the population. Why? The effect doesn't happen immediately. It takes decades for this to happen. And we can even see it in data aggregated at the country or regional level. Peaks in tobacco consumption do not immediately affect mortality. It takes about 10-15 years. And then we see the echo of high tobacco consumption in tobacco-related mortality, but in individual life. For an individual, this can happen quite quickly. If we look, for example, at the mortality of men aged 35 to 70, 30% of the total mortality in this age group in Russia is tobacco-related mortality.
We went to where laws are made and asked these questions to a State Duma deputy. Why, if the sale of tobacco products is against the law, are they still being sold?
Because of strong lobbying, here, everywhere, here in ministries, in the social federation, in the legal sector, in the marketing sector, everything is heavily flooded with money. Lobbying is not only in Russia, but all over the world. How to explain lobbying to children? Lobbying is corruption, dirty interests. When someone finds a way to approach another and says, listen, don't raise that law, we'll give you something very valuable and important here. And you will become even more successful. Otherwise, you will be punished. Well, you don't smoke, so don't smoke. Good for you. Lobbying is corruption. This needs to be understood, but it is veiled in such noble, in quotes, goals. We are saving the economy after all. The tobacco industry is important. Why? Because it pays money into the budget. That's a lie. First of all, they export a large portion. Secondly, every ruble they contribute costs about 10-15 rubles.
So, tobacco companies are violating the laws of our country.
Yes, they don't just violate them, they spit on our laws. That is, large tobacco transnational corporations, they spit on our laws. We have a law on consumer rights. It states that every manufacturer is required to indicate on the packaging the contents of what is inside. Everyone does, this except for the tobacco companies, and somehow everyone has resigned themselves to the fact that it should be this way, but this is a scam.
These corporations truly have a death grip on our country. After all, it is abnormal when sanctions are discussed, and there, every day we see reports on how many foreign companies are leaving the Russian market. At the same time, regarding Japan Tobacco or other corporations that produce cigarettes and are practically monopolists in the world, they have no intention of leaving us. In this regard, I am convinced that we need to protect our country, its future generations, and this scam must be stopped here in our country.
If we started talking about the composition, am I correct in understanding that tobacco companies can add any substances to cigarettes, and they are not required to inform anyone about these additives? For example, adding substances that can cause infertility in a person after 5 years of smoking.
Currently, our approach to regulation is such that tobacco companies are not required to seek any permissions to change their composition or even to notify about changes in this composition. They can do whatever they want. This is, so to speak, the approach to regulation. If there is a permissive procedure in the European Union, then they must apply, notify, explain why, and what this additive is aimed at. And only after that, having received permission, they can include it in the composition. We have absolute freedom.
Therefore, they come up with a facade called, we pay some money into the budget. It's a lie. Every ruble that goes into the budget causes damage greater than 10.
These are diseases, oncology, funding for oncology services, searching for new medicines, saving human lives, and so on. All of this involves very large sums of money. If we also consider other diseases associated with smoking, then we understand that these are colossal expenses for the state budget.
Therefore, if you also consider the loss of productivity against this background, then your figures will grow astronomically. Do you understand?
And in this regard, the myth that we supposedly gain some income from this is indeed not true. The profits are made by those who invent and sell these drugs. These are the people who sell death.
But the cynicism of tobacco companies is even more outrageous. When you see what they are willing to do to earn even more money, please tell me, have you seen such stickers? Yes. Have you seen such stickers? Yes, I have seen them.
Yes, I have seen them.
Could you please tell me, have you seen such stickers? Of course.
I have seen them. Yes, this one most often, probably.
Well, yes, they hang in stores. What do you think? Who distributes them? Well, people who are against it. What do you think? Who distributes them? Some organization that is against smoking. Yes, volunteers, anyone.
Health enthusiasts. Right, the government.
Well, it's definitely the government. The government. Well, The guys who are trying in vain to fight.
Probably it's the government.
And what if I tell you that it's the tobacco companies themselves?
I will hardly believe you.
Don't you believe?
Oh.
The tobacco companies themselves. What if it's the tobacco companies themselves? Well, it seems unlikely to me. I don't think so. Why? So that they attract attention and act contrary. How interesting.
So if you can't have something, you want it.
Do you think this ban makes people want to smoke even more?
Absolutely right.
Like it's forbidden, and the forbidden fruit is sweet.
Nikolai, a former employee of the tobacco company Philip Morris, agreed to meet with us and talk about the stickers.
We saw such red stickers, which are not sold to minors here. And although this is not mandatory from a legal standpoint, yes, they were directly given to us as marketing material.
An important point was made, marketing material. As far as I know, marketing is about attraction.
And during the visit to the location, you drive up, look whether it's there or not. If not, then yes, either knowing there. When you understand whether it will work or not, you either stick it on right away because, guys, I provided you a service, or you come and sell this idea by showing how people, the same adults, parents, can be sure that children are not sold to in your store. I don't know how we offer you such a sticker so that everyone can see and be sure that you are a socially responsible store.
We arrived at Professor Demins, the author of a number of scientific works on the problem of smoking. Are children and teenagers really the main target of transnational tobacco corporations?
According to statistics, 80% of people who consume tobacco products containing nicotine start using them before the age of 18, that is, as children. And when in the United States, as I mentioned, there was this court case that forced them to pay damages, they were also made to disclose 40 million pages. In the official documentation, it was found that they were well aware of all this and that all their marketing efforts were directed not at adults, as they assured us, but specifically at children.
According to studies, 80% of people started smoking in their teenage years because they saw an example or for some other reasons, but they began doing it in their teenage years. Imagine you are the head of a company. Who will you target your advertising campaign at? Well, naturally at children, under 18. Adults may not see cigarette advertisements for one simple reason, because cigarette advertising is not aimed at them. Adults simply do not watch what teenagers watch, and they are not in that information space. They may not even notice how children's brains are actually being washed.
Well, are you ready to dive with me into the world of vaping?
For its price, it is packed to the maximum, and even more. It looks cool, and is affordably priced.
Cool. It really hit home, I can say. It's a funny topic. So, in my affairs, it's not blood flowing, but a full-fledged liquid for $2,500.
Evgenia Turkova, actress of theater and cinema. Tell me, Evgenia, are you often offered to advertise cigarettes?
Well, just recently I received an email with an offer for advertising on Instagram, where I don't have many followers. They promised me $3,000 for a post. I was supposed to advertise cigarettes even though I don't smoke. Of course I declined, but many of my colleagues agree.
$3,000 is almost 200,000 rubles. It seems like a large amount for one picture on social media. But let's do the math. If this post by the Tobacco Corporation draws at least one person into addiction, then on average, he will bring them 4,500 rubles per month. In a year, that's 54,000. After 10 years of smoking, it's already 540,000. And what if this hidden advertisement draws in 10 people?
The Tobacco Corporation spends 10% of its budget, which it receives on advertising. In 1 year, the tobacco company earns approximately, well, all tobacco companies earn about 1,600,000,000,000 rubles. This means, dividing by 10, we get 160 billion. This is the entire budget they have for marketing.
That is, transnational tobacco corporations spend 160 billion a year on lobbying and advertising to draw youth into smoking. And this money is given to them by the smokers themselves. For example, smoking parents pay for their own children's addiction. Therefore, the first solution to this problem is a personal stance, to live a free life from this poison. The second is the gradual delegalization of nicotine. For example, one can join the public initiative Future Without Nicotine, which proposes the gradual removal of nicotine-containing products from trade, involving the adoption of a federal law that prohibits the sale of cigarettes and other nicotine-containing products to people born after 2014, as these are children who do not smoke yet, and conditions need to be created so that they do not start smoking and become addicted.
That is, there should be a program for the gradual removal of tobacco from the market with a clear acknowledgement that it is a poison that leads to death and from which there is an addiction.
One of the ways is still to draw a Rubicon, where we say, let's just stop it all. From 2014 onwards, all subsequent generations will be protected from the influence of these corporations. Moreover, this initiative of ours is not out of the ordinary. There were times when opium was sold in stores. It is hard to imagine now that such a drug as opium could be sold retail. Therefore, our initiative is quite logical and healthy.
I have a daughter. She is 6 years old now. When I was spared the operation, she was concerned. She said she would never be able to poop.
The restrictive measure should work in such a way that the state does not follow the principle of a hamster in a wheel. That is, we come up with new protective measures, and suddenly new threats are added. Therefore, in general, we need to follow the legislative norm to prohibit the entire process of consumption and sale for citizens born at a certain age from a specific year. That is, this is a normal practice. The whole world is moving in this direction, and those countries that today advocate for the health of their citizens will do exactly that. It is important that we are not at the end of this train, but at the forefront.
An absolutely correct step. If a person does not have an addiction, why create conditions where they might acquire one?
Most serious changes start with a specific person. No one can change everything, but everyone can change something. And in the end, it will change everything.